All right, welcome back to another edition of Bryan Broaddus and Jeff Cavanaugh, top 10 by position group for the 2020 NFL Draft. And today, we're looking at the pass rushers, defensive ends, edges, whatever you want to call it. Sometimes it gets confusing. Bryan, am I allowed to include Zack Baun or not?
If you want to, you could go ahead. I've got him under linebackers myself. I thought when we got to the linebackers, I'd put him in there. But I would, if you want to talk about him that way.
Okay, we'll just do our top 10, and I'll tell you where he would be on my top 10 if I were allowed to count him. But we're going defensive ends.
That's fine. Yeah.
/ edge players here, and our top 10. And Bryan, number one's really tough when it comes to this defensive end group. It's really tough.
Yeah.
Chaisson.
Yeah, Chaisson.
The end.
On my board, and Jeff, I did something. I did my top 51 last night, and he was my number one player overall. So spoiler alert for that. But that's not a difficult one to talk about when you watch the way that he plays. He is going to instantly be a difference maker for whoever he gets drafted.
For Washington, Bryan. It'll be for Washington.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. Who is your number 2 edge rusher? By the way, that's the end of my first round edge rushers.
Yeah. Let me as far as the top guys, you mean not me? Yeah.
Oh, my cheater. I do have I got a couple of 1-2s. I got a couple of cheaters, a couple of 1-2s. My second pass rusher would
Chaisson be your second of the cheaters, or
Kayvon Chaisson is my next edge rusher. Yetur Gross-Matos is my third edge rusher, and those are my guys that I'm cheating on, that I'm putting as a 1-2.
Yeah, I'm to the point. I went back and read my notes on Gross-Matos, and I don't have him as high as you do, but I do have Chaisson there. But he's in that 1 to 2 range, and I'm not just putting him there for window dressing because of the Cowboys picking at 17 or anybody else picking. I honestly feel like that's where he's going to be. He is the second best pass rusher on the draft, depending on where you have. You talk about with Baun. If you see him as a legitimate defensive end, I've graded him as an outside linebacker. But if you talk about him, Chaisson, they're kind of in that same little bit of a category for me as far as the pass rushing stuff goes like that. But Chaisson would be my number 2 guy there for sure.
Okay, who's your number 3 guy? Because as I said, I got Gross-Matos as my third guy. You may be lower, so you may have another guy still.
Yeah, I'm in that mode now where I think I would go with Epenesa as my third guy there. And and this is where the drop off starts. I mean, it's Young, it's Chaisson, Baun maybe. Now you're into a group of guys. You're kind of thinking, okay, are there any guys with the elite kind of a skill? I don't think so. Are there good pass rushers? Yeah, there are. Are there guys that could get stuck along the line of scrimmage? Yeah, there are. And I think we're going to get into a group of these guys right now. Epenesa from Iowa, to me, is a guy that I like him better than Gross-Matos from Penn State. Just the fact that I think you can get a little bit more pass rush out of him. Again, going back and checking my notes when I was doing my top 51, I didn't have – I mean, I thought I was a lot higher on Gross-Matos. I'm really not. I lowered him out of that 1 to 2 range and put him in the straight 2 for me.
No.
Yeah. So, and I just – again, it's
straight
going back
hating.
and looking – well, it's not hate. It's just going back and reading my notes, and you kind of feel like you had a guy – there were too many times in these notes where I talked about stuck on blocks and things like that, but Epenesa, was a guy that I felt like had a little bit better pass rush technique, maybe a little bit quicker getting off the edge, maybe a little bit better as far as getting to the quarterback. And I'm going to go with him as my number 3. I do have Gross-Matos as 4 behind him.
Okay, so those guys are 3 and 4. And at number 5 for me, and I don't know if we're going to agree here either, I have Julian Okwara, Notre Dame, as my 5th guy out there on the edge, who I think injury this year, but as far as ability and trying to project him as a pass rusher, I think he's going to go in the top 50 or maybe 51. Julian Okwara, Notre Dame, is my 5th edge player.
Yeah, I think that you're onto something there, but I have him as really my as I look at it, my 7th guy is what I have.
Bryan.
Yeah. I really like the kid Zuniga from Florida. I think there's some ability there though. I mean, he's been banged up a little bit. His tape you could see him when he's rushing the pass. You could see that get off the football. You could see that first step quickness. You could see that capturing of the edge. I mean, Epenesa and Gross-Matos, I wish they had that kind of that first step explosiveness of Zuniga. If Zuniga wasn't so banged up, probably would have him maybe a little bit higher on that group. But him and then Davidson also from Auburn would be my next guy in that group that we're talking about.
See, I graded Davidson as a 3 technique. I kicked him off of defensive end.
Yeah, I kind of put him – talking to some scouts around the league, and I understand why you did that. Some scouts around the league, I said, specifically, where do you have Davidson? And, you're right, Jeff. He can play the tackle. He can play defensive tackle. He can play end. A lot of guys were telling me, grade him as like a left defensive end. So that's what I've done him as. You're right. The pass rush technique, all that stuff needs to be developed. The power, the strength, those kinds of things are there for that left end play. So I have him in that group right there with the guys we're talking about: Epenesa, Gross-Matos, Zuniga, and Davidson, kind of that 4 group. All those guys in the second round of the board for me.
Okay, see, I'm still in my second round as well, and mine is Young, Chaisson, Gross-Matos, Epenesa, Julian Okwara, Josh Uche, Michigan.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're going to grade him as a linebacker or as an edge, but he's going to be rushing the passer.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got Josh Uche there in the end of the second round.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that really do like him at that spot. And again, there's a guy that's explosive. There's a guy that has the quickness. There's that guy we talk about, the first step. How can you win with the first step? If you're kind of an undersized or light guy, you better have something different in your tool belt to make that edge rusher count. And I think that he's a guy. I think you got him in the right spot. I got Okwara above him there in that room. I'm kind of now in that third round area there. I got him and then Taylor from Tennessee in that range. I got him as that left defensive end. There's a guy that I think has got some pass rush skill to him. But again, I see him on that left side again. Gross-Matos, Davidson, Taylor, those are my guys.
Taylor's tough. So I guess our lists are going to be different enough that we may as well just individually go down the 10, because my 7th guy is Terrell Lewis, Alabama.
Yeah.
My 8th guy is Curtis Weaver, Boise State. My 9th guy is Darrell Taylor, Tennessee. And my 10th guy is Bradlee Anae, Utah. So I've basically given you my top 10. Young, Chaisson, Gross-Matos, Epenesa, Okwara, Uche, Lewis, Weaver, Taylor, Anae. Top 10 edge guys.
Yeah, I would go Young, Chaisson, Epenesa, Gross-Matos, Zuniga, Davidson. That's 6 right there. I would go Okwara, Taylor, Grenard, and then Strobridge from North Carolina is a guy that I have in that mix. Yeah, okay, I have him in that mix right there. So, and then Uche would be right at that 11th spot, and then Anae, Lewis. I wasn't as high on Lewis. Lewis is a guy that I could be really, really wrong about. There's a couple of guys in this draft I could be really wrong about. I've got Lewis in the lower half of that 3rd round area. I know people projected him a lot higher, depending on who you talk to. But I'm gonna stand on my grade and my spot there. I do worry a little bit about Anae. You watched him at the Senior Bowl have some really good success, and then you watch him against Austin Jackson against USC, and he wasn't the same player. I mean, Jackson just ate him alive. And and I was worried about, okay, is a good offensive tackle going to do that to him? So I have him a little bit further down. But Uche's a guy, I'm with you on that too. I think, with Michigan, come with the first step quickness, be explosive, capture the edge. I know a lot of fans out there are probably saying, Cowboy fans are going, oh, the Cowboys couldn't take another Michigan guy. But if you took this Michigan guy, he's different than what Taco. This guy's explosive and can pass rush. I don't think Taco could do those.
That's our top 10 defensive ends for the 2020 draft class. Bryan, thank you for your time, and I'll see you on the G-Bag Nation shortly.
Sounds great, Jeff. Thank you.
And everybody make sure that you're marking your calendars for Thursday, the 16th of this month, as we'll have our Draft 101, 1053thefan.com/draft 101. So be there, and we'll have another top 10 for you coming with another position group. That's it for the defensive ends.